write this sermon this week, I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what to say. I wrote out 2 or 3 different versions, and I don't really like any of them. And I think that there are a couple reasons for that. On the one hand, I'm in a different place than normal, and I don't know all of you very well, so it's sometimes hard to think about how do we talk about different things. And in some ways, it's because I look at these lessons, and there's so much in them that it can be hard to focus. So I've got this little trick that someone taught me at a conference about 3 years ago. It's called the 6-word story. Now, I know last week you heard Father Tom talk about a rule of life, or in the church's life, a mission statement. In some ways, the idea of a 6-word story is that you have your own sense of statement or rule of life, at least whatever comes forth in that moment. Now, when it was introduced to me, I thought it was a little crazy because how could I be so concise as to sum up everything I am in 6 words? I got Mom to Zoe and Patrick, and that's already 6, and we're already there. What else do we do? But it certainly helps me to think about these lessons that we heard today. And there are 2 in particular that I'd like to focus on. The piece from Acts and the piece from John, the Gospel. Now, Acts has in it one of my very favorite characters in the Bible. Now, she doesn't have a huge starring role. We pretty much only get what we heard today, which is that Lydia is this woman who is in this land of where she is a businesswoman, which is unusual. Normally this was a male culture, and so women didn't have roles like this, yet she is somebody who has been lifted up and has worked to find her own business. Lydia also is a woman of deep, deep faith, a leader in her community, again, bucking some of the traditional norms to bring people together. Lydia, to me, is somebody who is inspiring, somebody who has a very traditional faith in some ways, who has a deep faith, but is not afraid to go out and be all that she can be, regardless of whatever society may tell her about, oh, well, you're a girl, so you can't do that. Obviously, I don't like that. I'm a girl, and I'm up here doing this, right? So I like that she does that. And there's some other pieces to Lydia that are also good, that I've already mentioned, that deep faith that she has, that deep faith. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Because the other lesson I want to highlight today is the one that we had from the Gospel of John. Now, when I read this the first time, I thought, funerals. We've had about 20 funerals this last year, and we're on pace again this year, and this John passage is one that is chosen a lot, or at least what's around it. So immediately I think of that, and on Memorial Day, that's our Memorial Day weekend, it seems appropriate that we're thinking about what is the larger picture. These people that we've loved and lost, where are they, and when do we get to see them again, right? We have this spiritual message in this gospel from John that reminds us there is something greater, something more, that one must have faith, but when one does, you have an opportunity to really know God and to understand that everlasting life is available. And in there, he says, do not let your hearts be troubled. It's actually the second time that he says it in that particular chapter of John. Do not let your hearts be troubled. It's a very, very hopeful message, one that sometimes we forget when we're facing death. So we've got Lydia here, who's got this great faith and is kind of probably a bit of a rabble-rouser in her community. And then we've got John, who is saying, don't forget what faith is about, and that it is something that you are supposed to hold dear, rather than something to fear. Those 2 things came together for me in my mind as I thought about the news that's going on in the world. So I had to take a little hiatus from the news because I just couldn't handle it. It was too much bad, too much of the time. And finally, about 2 to 4 weeks ago, I turned NPR back on because that's where I get my news. And it's still not good news most of the time. Still not good news is what we're hearing. There's a lot of chaos. But the thing that strikes me about what's happening in the news right now is is that so much of it is based in fear. So much of it is about trying to scare people into making decisions, scare people into living their lives a certain way. And I don't like that. I don't think it's right. And it's not one person or one group, it's everyone. If you vote for her, she is going to take away everything and make it bad. And if you vote for him, he's going to take away babies and make that bad. And it's just like that. That is a culture that we are living in right now. And it's hard to put it away and recognize that fear is not the way in which we need to live. And in fact, if we listen to the words of the gospel, fear is not a part of our makeup, our composition. Rather, hope is who we are as Christians. So, we put all of that together. Now I'm rambling just a little bit, but we come then to a 6-word story. Coming back to that now. Now, 6-word story. There are a lot of them that can come out this week, but what came out for me is find grounding in faith, not fear. 6 words. Find grounding in faith, not fear. We have 2 lessons today that are showing us how we are to be in this world. How we are to live as Christians in a world that may or may not be friendly to us all the time. How to live a very countercultural message, one that is about hope and joy and possibility, rather than fear and sorrow and sadness. We have the tools for that. We know it's going to be a little bit different. Lydia was there with her fellow women, and they were all talking, and then these 2 men just came in, and then they talked to her. But she listened and opened up her heart. And she heard the possibility. That's what we are to do. We're in our enclaves, we're in our groups, but we're here to listen, and to listen for a message of hope and faith and love. We are not a people of fear, we are a people of joy. We're not a people of sorrow, we're a people of the Alleluias. That's why we get to hear these great messages at funerals and other places. We're not a people of despair, but a people of love and joy. Make that your 6-word story. Figure out what your 6 words are, but make it one that is in hope and not in fear, that is in joy and not in sorrow. One that maybe bucks the tradition, like Lydia did, but lifts up a voice that desperately needs to be heard in this world, today and always. So my 6-word story for this week is, find grounding in faith, not fear. If we live in fear, we do nothing. But if we live in faith, then we can help and serve and love those around us. Amen.
Amen.